Hey friends, welcome back to my channel and also welcome to any new followers who may have come my way recently from a certain list that I'll mention in a moment. And also congratulations on making it through a whole year of lockdowns and restrictions and things like that. It's amazing to think the pandemic has gone on that long already. But things are looking promising. Here in the UK, the vaccination programme has been going really well and our long winter lockdown has really helped too. So we're gradually easing restrictions again now. Still being very cautious as we go, but things are moving in the right direction, looking very positive. Hopefully Mum and I will get our second doses of our vaccine soon. Mum should be getting hers during April, I think. And I should be getting mine during May, so we're looking forward to that. I hope you had a nice Easter as well. Mum and I had a nice relaxing weekend. I managed to go out for a nice long walk on the Sunday when the weather was really warm and summery. And yeah, the rest of the weekend it was just relaxing and eating too much chocolate and treats and things. We had some nice meat in from Greendale Farm in Devon, which we've used before. They do lovely big cuts of meat. We've had a nice big leg of lamb that's lasted us 4 days, and we've also got a half joint of ham and a top side joint of beef and things to get through. And we also had Easter eggs from Sainsbury's, of course. We got ourselves a Kit Kat Chunky Easter egg, a Whisper Gold one, and a Lindt one as well. So that kept us busy, along with other little treats like hot cross buns and things too. As for March, yeah, we were in lockdown, as I say, so there isn't a huge amount to mention, but there are various bits and pieces of entertainment and things like that as per usual. As always, there's much more detail on my blog post. Nothing here is sponsored or gifted either, and that's the preamble basically, so I'm just going to crack straight on with it, and I hope you enjoy it. So before I get on to the entertainment stuff, I just want to give a very big shout out and thank you to Scope's Big Hack team who work on digital accessibility and things like that. I've appeared on 5 News with them before now and done other bits and pieces with them. They very kindly included me in a list of bloggers to check out in 2021, a list of disabled bloggers, and I'm in there with some very esteemed names, which I'm very flattered about. I know I've had some new followers on Twitter recently as a result of that, so if you've come my way from that list, then welcome aboard. And also a shout out to my friends at Vocalize as well, because they recently published their 50th interval newsletter, where every week during the pandemic they've basically been promoting accessible culture online for visually impaired people that's audio described or whatever. So there's museum tours and theatre shows and things like that. So there's been a lot to choose from there, and obviously they've got a whole archive on their website of all those newsletters, so it's well worth having a look through those. And also on the Vocalize website, another reason to give them a shout out is that I had an article published on there recently about the Mischief Movie Nights, the improvised comedy shows that I've been raving about for the past few months. So I wrote a special article for their website about the audio described night in particular. So then, talking of Mischief, let's move on to entertainment. And Mischief brought out DVDs for Peter Pan Goes Wrong and A Christmas Carol Goes Wrong. These are their Christmas specials from 2016 and 2017, and they're really, really funny. They're wonderfully farcical, and they've got big guest stars as well, like David Suchet and Derek Jacobi. And the discs have also got extended commentaries on there as well. These are video watch-along commentaries, and these are extended versions of the videos that are on their YouTube channel, so you get to see them talking even more about the shows and how they're put together and stuff, which is really good. And then, talking of improvised comedy, having really enjoyed the Mischief Movie Nights earlier in the year, I decided to try a couple of Showstopper musicals this month by a different group. And basically these are improvised musicals where they take suggestions from the audience for titles, locations, characters and things, and make up a musical on the spot. And it's really well done. I mean, it's amazing how they come up with catchy and enjoyable songs on the fly like that, and they put a nice fun little story together and things like that. It's really well done. It's not something I go back to though, purely because it's just not quite the same experience as the Mischief Nights was. You know, this is more like watching a Zoom call in a way, because every actor is in a separate booth, kept socially distanced from each other and brought together on screens. There's no kind of physical interaction and dancing and things like that. You don't get the costumes and the lights and stuff. At least with the Mischief shows, they managed to organise it in a way where they could interact on the stage together and dance and have props and costumes and all this kind of stuff. So it just felt more like a kind of theatre experience, whereas this kind of didn't have the same magic to it really. But it was still very good. I still recommend checking it out. It is very popular with people, and I'm glad I watched a couple of the shows because they were really fun. One was about an escape room and one was about witches in a village. So they do have quite a variety of different things going on there. And then the other live online experience that I enjoyed during the month is one that I can't really tell you much about, because I was in the virtual audience for a recording of QI, having managed to acquire tickets through the Applause store. So that was really fun. The atmosphere in the studio is exactly like you see it on the TV. They have good fun with it. There's lots of good banter there. A few little pauses to reset props and things like that, and 1 or 2 minor retakes for Sandy, but really it's a very well-oiled machine. It flowed very well. And there's a lot of material they've got to edit out of that 2.5 hour recording, I must say. I can't tell you which episode it is or who was in it or any of the content of it, obviously, but it was really good. I really enjoyed that. And they keep you entertained before the show as well. Again, I'm not going to spoil how, but they have a very effective way of getting you in the mood and keeping you kind of upbeat and ready to start the show when they bring you into the studio. And it's quite strange having to laugh, cheer and applaud loudly like you would in the theatre, which you normally wouldn't do at home. I quite often watch comedies at home and don't necessarily laugh a lot, even though I find it funny because I'm on my own. You tend to laugh more when you're around other people. So to force yourself to kind of do that more is a strange feeling at first, but you soon get used to it. You're not visible on the screen, but you can hear other audience members laughing in the background as well. There's about 700 different feeds from different households they've got to mix together for the final broadcast. So you don't hear the laughter as loudly as you normally would, but it is there, so you don't feel you're alone laughing on your own, which is good. So yeah, that was a really fun experience. I'm very glad I went to that, and I will of course mention it again briefly in the relevant favourites video after it's broadcast on the TV. And then on a related note, some of the researchers from the show, the QI Elves as they're called, did a special 20-hour edition of their No Such Thing as a Fish podcast for Comic Relief, where they basically talk about different facts they've discovered recently and have a bit of banter about them and stuff, and they had various celebrity guests joining them too. So I haven't listened to that. I didn't listen to the live stream on the day, but they have been publishing different segments of it with their different guest stars on their YouTube channel, so I'm going to be going through some of those very soon because that looks like quite good fun. And then something I finally finished recently is Noel's House Party. I've now looked through every single episode of all 8 series that have been posted on Andy Pearman's channel. He's done a great job at getting all those episodes as well as behind the scenes studio footage and other special bits and pieces as well. So yeah, it's been great to relive all that. It's been a great nostalgia trip. All the gungeons and the games and the NTV surprises for people at home and the shocks for people in the audience and all the celebrity guests and the gotcha pranks and all that kind of stuff. It was great Saturday night entertainment. And of course the advantage of being able to look through all the episodes in quick succession like this rather than waiting for it week after week after week like you had to in the 90s is that you're able to see very clearly the evolution of the show and the ultimate decline towards the end as well, which was a great shame. Series 1 to 4 was undoubtedly the golden era for the show when it was at its very best. And don't forget, this is coming off the back of the Saturday Roadshow that they'd already done a few series of, so they were able to carry a few features over from there, and they basically hit the ground running because they knew what they were doing. And then Series 5 was also pretty solid, a few cracks starting to appear where they were struggling for ideas, but it held its own very well. And if they'd stopped at the end of Series 5, it would have been fine, but they persisted with Series 6, 7 and 8 with various overhauls to the show that just didn't work, and they were clearly running out of ideas, plus they were having decisions imposed on them from on high from the BBC executives about the sort of stuff they wanted in the show, and there were changes in the production team as well, some quite significant ones like Michael Lego, who got promoted to a different position, and he was a big friend of Noel's, a big help to Noel's on the show, and there were budget cuts to fund the digital switchover, all sorts of different things going on behind the scenes that basically the show suffered as a result of. And you can see as you're watching through the series that they're kind of quietly dropping features or trying to change things that weren't working, and there's just nothing to fill the gap with. They can't find decent replacements, and there's a lot of padding they have to do, and it got to a point midway through Series 7 where Noel walked out and refused to film an episode because it had got that bad. And then towards the end of Series 8, when they were able to announce they got the axe, he looked visibly relieved, like a big weight had been lifted off his shoulders. And there is a very interesting interview online that he gave with Kirsty Young where he explains the problems that they faced, so he's quite open about that. That's quite interesting. There's various interviews with Noel online as well. There's one with Parkinson where he touches upon it too, but the interview with Kirsty Young is the most revealing, I think. And of course nowadays Ant and Dec, who appeared as guests on the House Party, they've now picked up the baton and run with it for Saturday Night Takeaway, which has borrowed a lot of the concepts from House Party, but ultimately there still is nothing like Noel's House Party on the telly and never will be, I don't think. It was very much of its time, and it's just been great to relive it all. So thank you to Andy Pearman for giving us the chance to revisit Crinkly Bottom and the Great House and to relive all those great memories. It's been fantastic. And I am going to watch some of the episodes of Saturday Roadshow as well. I understand all the history and everything, and I know about Noel's career and stuff, but I haven't actually seen Saturday Roadshow yet, so I'm looking forward to checking out a few of those episodes to see what that was like. And then moving back to modern TV, and the new series of Taskmaster is going very well. I'm really enjoying that as usual. Lee Mack is the one I know best, and he's great value, but all the comedians are great as well. I'm aware of what they've all done, but I'm not as familiar with them as I am with Lee, because I've seen a lot of stuff with Lee, and so I'm a big fan of his anyway. But yeah, they're all very good. It's a very entertaining series as always. And then over on Gold, there was a lovely documentary about The Vicar of Dibley, a classic sitcom of course, and that had Richard Curtis, one of the writers, and Dawn French, who plays the vicar of course, reminiscing about the show and reliving classic moments, talking about behind the scenes stuff and talking to other people who are involved as well. Obviously quite a few people involved with the show now have passed away very sadly, including Emma Chambers, who plays Alice, and Roger Lloyd Pack of course, and most recently Trevor Peacock, who played Jim. No Jim. He passed away shortly after the documentary aired. So yeah, it's a shame that a lot of the people in that show have now gone, but it's going to remain a classic for a long time, that sitcom. And there was also a Vicar of Dibley sketch in the Comic Relief Telethon this year as well, which had a nice variety of different bits and pieces with something for everyone. So I also liked the new sketch by Staged with Michael Sheen and David Tennant, with a guest appearance by Lenny Henry. There was also a fictional trailer for 2020 the movie, which would be a disaster movie about last year, as you can imagine from the name. Catherine Tate's Nan character met Daniel Craig's Bond character. Tim Vine was in a box telling lots of corny jokes at RAF Northolt. Jack Whitehall hosted a celebrity Zoom call. There was some comedians like Alex Brooker and Jennifer Saunders learning to sing opera, being taught by Charlotte Church. And they actually did quite well at that, to be fair. There was a lip-synced video to the song All By Myself. There was a fun performance by the stars of Back to the Future, the musical, which looks quite good. And there was a show by Rob Brydon looking back at classic moments from comic relief's past as well. And various other bits and pieces too. I'm not going to mention everything, but those are the things that stood out to me personally. And they'd raised a very respectable $52 million by the end of the night, which is very impressive, especially in the middle of a pandemic. And that total will go up during the year as well, of course. And then on to other comedy, and the BBC had a week-long series of shows called Funny Festival Live, which was basically live at the Apollo, but in a smaller venue with a small audience of just the production crew in the studio and then a virtual audience online watching as well. So you still had a major comedian introducing the show and doing some material of their own and then introducing some other acts. So there were some good comedians in there and some that I wasn't very bothered about. So again, there was a nice variety of material there. There would have been something for everyone. And then I also watched, as usual, episodes of Would I Lie to You, QIXL, and The Last Leg that were on during the month, and episodes of Who Said That, the game show online that I like to watch too. And then over on Radio 4, Mum and I have been enjoying the new series of Just a Minute, which has been using guest hosts, of course, because Nicholas Parsons is sadly no longer with us. And that's been working pretty well. Inevitably, some hosts have been better than others. Our choice would be Giles Brandreth as the permanent host. He really does host it well. But Stephen Fry would be a close second. He did a very good job this week as well, as it happens. And who knows, this may be an audition series where they're trying people out. We don't know if they'll stick with the guest host's idea forever or not. We'll see what happens. It's just nice to see the show continuing, to be honest. But Mum and I have also been reliving the Nicholas Parsons era of the show as well, thanks to Audible, because there are various box sets and compilations on there you can download to listen to various classic episodes. So we started off with Remembering Nicholas Parsons, which was basically a repeat of the Evening of Remembrance they had on Radio 4 after he passed away. So there's a documentary about him, there's his Desert Island Discs episode, there's a favourite episode chosen by Paul Merton, and then there's the entire final series that Nicholas Parsons recorded. So that was quite a nice little compilation of stuff. And then at the moment we're listening to a 40th anniversary box set of the show where Nicholas Parsons is introducing various episodes from across the decades and giving us lots of behind the scenes insights and telling us about how the show evolved and developed over the years and stuff like that. It's really interesting to hear him talk about it. It's quite enlightening. That's a 4-volume box set of just a classic minute episodes basically, and there are other compilations and things. So I know what I need to get. I've got everything lined up. We just need to go through them bit by bit, and it's good fun, so that'll keep us going for a while. So then finally moving on to music, and there's not a huge amount to mention this time, but what I do have to highlight is all Queen and Kerry Ellis related in one form or another. So of course Queen are celebrating their 50th anniversary this year, and they've started doing a weekly series of videos to celebrate that, looking at classic songs and gigs and albums, videos, etc. Various bits and pieces they've got planned for the coming weeks and months. So it's been interesting to watch those so far. And don't forget, over on my blog I'm celebrating their anniversary as well by posting really in-depth album reviews. So coming soon this month I've got the second part of my review of A Day at the Races. There was also a really nice documentary on over Easter weekend, which is cheating slightly, I know, because it was in April, but I want to mention it here because it's relevant, called Freddie Mercury in 10 Pictures. And in 10 Pictures is actually a whole series where they're going to be looking at someone different every week. But Freddie Mercury was the first episode, and basically by going through 10 key photos from his life, they're able to talk about him and reveal a lot about him. And it was a very affectionate and very interesting documentary, talking to various people that knew him. Not Brian May and Roger Taylor, they weren't involved, but Peter Freestone was involved. He was a very key figure in Freddie's life, of course, and various other people. And as for Kerry Ellis, she performed a lovely version of Memory from Cats, which has been slightly updated to reflect the current situation, as a charity performance in aid of acting for others, because obviously people working in the theatre still can't fully go back yet, so they still need our support. And then with Brian May, she has re-recorded the song Panic Attack that they did for their Golden Days album together. This has been rewritten and reproduced for 2021, so there's new guitar work from Brian as well as new vocals from Kerry, stuff like that. And it's their gift to us to boost our spirits, basically. It's not about making money. You can buy it on streaming services, but they'll donate proceeds to mental health charities. So it's just their little present to us to boost our spirits and things, which we all needed. And that's it. That's all I have to mention. I hope you found that enjoyable and found things of interest in there as per usual. During the month of April, there isn't a lot planned because we're still going to be in semi-lockdown to some extent, but at least things are now easing off. We can relax a bit more. I can hopefully finally get my hair cut. Hopefully Mum will get her second dose of the vaccine, and yeah, things are gradually heading in the right direction. So yeah, that's it. Thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment and subscribe as per usual. Please do continue to take care and stay safe and look after those around you, and I will see you for another video very soon. Bye.